the technology gets hijacked by this group of technocrats, if you will, turned around, weaponized, and used back against the people that it seeks to control. That's where we are today. We'll talk about 5G. I'll throw this out. 5G is not about cell phones. It's being sold that way. Your cell phone is going to be so much faster. You can get the latest and greatest new iPhone. You could pay whatever, probably by the time it comes out, you're going to pay $2,000 for a smartphone that will do 5G, and you can get your movies downloaded in 3 seconds instead of 3 minutes. I say, well, what a benefit. It's not about cell phone speed up. I've listened to the speeches of the CEOs of Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, and consistently you can see them salivating, not over voice communications or human communication on cell phones, but they're salivating over the Internet of Things. And this is what they're talking incessantly about, that 5G is going to light up the Internet of Things that will allow all of the data collection, all of the devices out there that could be connected to the internet is going to draw all that data back in real time. This whole body of truth we're talking about here has to do with social control. That's what technocracy was about in the first place. That's what sustainable development is about today with Agenda 21 and 2030 Agenda and the New Urban Agenda and so on from the United Nations. It's about social control. This is what the Green New Deal is all about, that AOC has introduced into our country with a firestorm, I might add. Everybody's talking about it now. This is about social control, getting you to do what they want you to do. It takes away private choice. It takes away citizen choice. It takes away citizen concerns completely and says, essentially, this is such an ego trip. We know what's best for you. You should trust us to make all your decisions for you. Why? Your purchasing decisions, your medical decisions, your travel decisions, your consumption decisions, how many children you have decisions, everything under the sun is envisioned right now, is on the table for them to exercise social control over you and I. This is not just by mistake or unintended. This is the way it was from the beginning. Now we're really feeling the bite, Josh, is the problem. Look at China. China has implemented this social credit scoring system over there that's affected every person in their country. All 1.4 billion people have been enrolled into the social credit system with their pictures, with biometric data, with all of the data, everything that happens, they know, the government does. They're applying artificial intelligence now to rank and rate and sort all of the people in the country. The outliers that are troublemakers, like you and me, the outliers are simply dropped out of the system. They're excluded. There's 13 million people right now in China on the blacklist that have been relegated to be second-class citizens. They can't travel the way other people do. They can't go to the same schools that other people want to go to. They can't live in the same areas that other people want to live in. They can't buy the same stuff that other people want to buy. This is so dystopian. It's beyond dystopia. This is what's coming to America. This is what the big carriers are salivating over. They want that data. We used to say in the 70s, Josh, follow the money, follow the power. That's still true to some extent. Well, of course it is. Money always seems to come into it somewhere. But today, as far as technocracy is concerned, here's how you watch this. Follow the data, follow the power. Go where the data is. Look for the data flow. Look for who's receiving, not first collecting, and then look who's receiving the data and what are they doing to it. All of the people in the data world today are claiming that data is the new oil of the 21st century. And they're absolutely right. The money and the value today, the income stream, is in the data that these technocrats are able to extract from society. So when you talk about smart city, implementing all these sensors around, whether they be light poles with microphones and cameras and the 5G transmitters, whether it be sensors in elevators and buildings and thermostats and smart meters on the sides of homes and businesses and smart meters for the water and the gas, all that kind of stuff. Autonomous vehicles, by the way, driving around in the city and so on, all those things are going to be connected via the Internet of Things. By the time they're done implementing 100% smart city technology in one given area, a computer with sufficient resources will be able to literally to model the city in real time and to rotate it, look into it in different areas they want to look at. This has never been possible. Americans individually yet have not caught up mentally with what's going on in police enforcement across our country. But when they use this pre-crime technique to try and predict where crime is going to happen, when it's going to happen, and by who it's going to be perpetrated, this goes into such dangerous ground, because to a technocrat mind, it's perfectly acceptable to be 90% accurate. If they can get something that's 90% accurate, why, they're thrilled. It's wonderful. We have pre-crime analysis that we can go out now and do all this stuff. But here's what they just ignored. What about the 10%? What about the 10% that get busted for something that had nothing to do with? Yeah. This is such dangerous, utopian-like thinking that Americans haven't yet got their mind around. 90% isn't good enough. That's not the way America ever worked. Our legal system, our justice, the rule of law. Okay, it's not perfect because maybe people aren't perfect sometimes, but the rule of law applied the same law to everybody uniformly. Not so with pre-crime analysis software or any other thing like that works on artificial intelligence. It's not going to apply it equally. It's been proven to have biases. In other words, the bias of the programmer has been seen now to be reflected in the software. And 90% accuracy leaves the other 10% out in the cold to get busted for any cockeyed thing that somebody comes up with. And even if they are proven not guilty in the end, they've ruined their life in the meantime by the mere accusation that they did something. When we talk about resources, we're thinking about timber, lumber, oil, food coming off the land, things getting mined out of the earth, resources. We think of water as a resource. To the technocrat mind, resources also include you and me. All humans are simply resources on the table with all these other resources that need to be worked and managed in concert with each other to save the planet, so to speak. I say save the planet figuratively. That's what they say. They're not saving the planet, trust me. But humans are reduced to being simply another resource on the face of the earth, no different than the cattle or the sheep or the goats or anything else, even trees in the forest and the farmland growing cauliflower out, on the farm. We're just resources to be managed. We're no better, in their mind, we're no better than a cow or a sheep. And so we're just there to be managed. Now, when Americans or when people concerned about the health effects of 5G get all worked up and they go to wherever they go to the protest, when they're facing a technocrat, in the technocrat's mind, why are you talking to me? Why should I care? You have to break a few eggs to make an omelet. So what's the problem here? You're just a resource. Don't you understand? You're just a resource. The health issue, we don't care about the health issues because, you know what, if you got 50,000 cattle in a feedlot, you obviously don't want to lose a whole herd. That would be dumb. But you know what? Cattle die in a feedlot for all kinds of reasons. They pull up a tractor, they put them in the bucket, and they haul them off. They take them to the sausage grinder or something. I don't know. Ooh, that brings up another bad thought about an old movie called Soylent Green. I didn't mean it, folks. But you see, when you reduce humanity to be just another animal, the mindset that comes out of that, Josh, is dangerous and it's anti-human. In my opinion, it's flat out anti-human. So all of the health concerns, if you're addressing technocrats, will fall on deaf ears. They won't have anything to say to you because they're going to be looking at you and saying, you guys are really crazy to be talking about this to us because, you know, there's just nothing to be concerned about here. Who are you anyway? You know, you're just an animal, like all the other animals. Rome prescribed essentially everything that the United Nations is doing today with resource management, resource-based economic system, control all the resources. Myself and Sutton said this, by the way, even though we didn't understand technocracy back in the early days, as I do now. We said that the goal of the global elite was to get their hands on the resources directly, not just on the money that comes out of them, generated from them, but get their hands on the resources directly. This makes sense in a historical sense. This makes very good sense to them, not to me, but it does to them, because there comes a time when money runs out of usefulness. There comes a time when money becomes worthless by definition because they're chipping away at it a little bit more every year. Since 1913, the dollar's lost like 99% of its value. There's going to come a time when it's 100% and money will mean nothing. We're almost to that point right now, by the way. But when money becomes worthless, and I think they saw this even back in 73, when money becomes worthless, what do you do for an encore? Well, if you control and own the resources, it doesn't matter what type of accounting system you put on top of it. If you got the resources and everybody else wants them, just wait for it to sort itself out and you're going to own everything again. You got the resources in your pocket. This is why the United Nations has been busy gobbling up heritage zones and stuff around the world. This is why in our country, in America now, the U.S. government owns, I think, 36% of the land mass of our nation. It's owned by the government. People go, what? Our government owns that much property? Yes, they do. Are they allowed to? Well, the Constitution doesn't say they can, but they just went and did it. And that's land that you and I can't use for legitimate economic purposes. And the United Nations is doing this all around the world. So the global elite now are in a position to, I think, one day let the financial system go altogether. It won't matter to them anymore because they will have the actual resources behind everything to recreate themselves in any way they want to recreate themselves when the time comes. Okay, so a technocratic society would be most perfectly filled by transhumans. The transhuman philosophy believes today that by using this advanced technology, they will create humanity 2.0. They believe through genetic modification especially that they can hijack, literally, the forces of evolution. Okay, now evolution is not a Christian biblical concept, of course, but to those who come from an evolution frame of mind in the first place, where they believe everything was just incidental and, just happened to happen, they believe now that through science, they can take over the process of evolution and direct future evolution themselves. This is really twisted, I hate to tell you. It's just, wow, these people are out on a limb. They think that they're going to create humanity 2.0. Now, humanity 2.0 would be the perfect type of humanity to live within a purely technocratic society.
So when you say they, like the elite, you're talking about the Trilateral Commission, the Club of Rome, the Bilderberg Group, right?
Anybody that adopts that philosophy, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's there's millions of people outside of those elite groups. At this point, the only possible line of defense that we can put in place is at the local level, the city and county level. And I encourage people to get active locally, to get to know their city council people, to run for city council, to run for all kinds of the various offices around their city and in their county. Get on any kind of board you can get on, and get your seat at the table. Somebody, a liberal, actually suggested one time to a friend of mine, if you don't have a seat at the table, you are what's for dinner. Don't do that anymore. You can get involved in your local civic matters and make a huge difference. Case in point, of all places, San Francisco. San Francisco, the bastion of liberalness and progressiveness in America. There's no city I know, and I was born there, I should know. There's no city in America that's more progressive and liberal and off the wall than San Francisco. Their city council just banned facial recognition technology from the city.
Excellent.
They banned it. Okay, don't tell me that the cities don't have power. They do. But if the citizens don't go and request the local city magistrates and the council members to take a stand on their behalf on these issues, they won't do it. You have to go and get involved. That's one reason, by the way, that I created Citizens for Free Speech last year, in turn, which created localactivist.org as a social networking platform just for local activists to go after issues like this. And people are welcome to go there if they want to, localactivist.org, and sign up. And believe me, if you come in and you're disingenuous and you're a troll or you've got some other idea that you're going to crack the safe, we'll throw you out faster than a country heartbeat. This is a private network for people like us that are really desiring to get in and set our country back straight again on a local basis. And you can check it out, citizensforfreespeech.org and localactivist.org.
They were specifically asked by the Senate, have you done any studies to test if this is safe? There is no data that would indicate that it's safe. There's only propaganda, but there is no data. There are no data. And there are a lot of studies that indicate it is not safe.
I believe that Americans deserve to know what the health effects are, not to prejudge what scientific studies may show, and they deserve also a commitment to do the research on outstanding questions. So my question for you, particularly Mr. Gillen and Mr. Perry, how much money has the industry committed to supporting additional independent research? I stress independent research. Is that independent research ongoing? Has any been completed? Where can consumers look for it? And we're talking about research on the biological effects of this new technology.
There are no industry-backed studies to my knowledge right now. Happy to visit with you as to what opportunities you think there needs to be more studies, and we're always for more science. We also rely on what the scientists tell us.
So essentially, the answer to my question, how much money? Zero.
I can certainly follow up with you, Senator. To my knowledge, there's no active studies being backed by industry today.
Anybody else know of industry commitments to back research, fund it, support it, to ascertain scientifically the health effect?
No, I'm not aware of any.
So there really is no research ongoing. We're kind of flying blind here, so far as health and safety is concerned. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
With regard to whether it's 5G, deploying it without any safety studies, or whether it's vaccines being mandated in the face of a lot of obvious risk once you look into the science, how is it that, that these agendas continue against informed consent? And really, what are the implications of if we don't draw a line now, to protect ourselves and our children, from these invasive technologies, what are the implications going forward? Who really owns our bodies? Who really owns the bodies of our children if we kind of allow this trend to continue?
Those are all those questions are tied up in the essential question, which is, can we maintain the integrity of our democracy? Or is our democracy, because of all the money in politics now, are all of our rights going to be subverted and made secondary to corporate profit taking? And that's what we're seeing today. You're seeing a domination of the political process by this kind of corporate kleptocracy. And all of human behavior is now subject to regulation in a way where the primary priority seems to be the profits of these corporations, and that all of us are subject to being commoditized. The landscapes are being commoditized. Our children are being commoditized, and it's a shocking evolution of American democracy from its highest ideals, which are human dignity, independence, human freedom, the right to choose. And let's listen to what human beings say. And we're dealing with a Congress now that is actively urging big tech companies to censor questions or critical information about pharmaceutical products. And there's 1,500 pharmaceutical lobbyists on Capitol Hill, and the other industries are going to do the same thing. They're going to censor bad information. There was a law passed in Texas last month that makes it illegal, makes it a felony to participate in a demonstration against pipeline projects. We're reaching that point in our democracy where arguing with a corporation or criticizing a corporation is going to become a criminal act. And we already are there with the vaccines. The vaccines are a profit-making drug, a $50 billion industry that are being mandated, forcibly imposed with coercion on American citizens against their will. And and we have our political leaders who are telling these big tech companies, where everybody agrees they're far too powerful, that they should censor any criticism. They should censor photographs of children who have been, injured by vaccines. They should abolish vaccine injuries by fiat by simply declaring it doesn't exist and allowing nobody to talk about it. And it's a very, very dangerous place that we're going into. It's Kafkaesque. But it paves the way for 5G, because that's what they're going to need. Because this is something that is bad for human beings, clearly. It's going to benefit, the military-industrial complex. It is not going to benefit the average American. And yet they're going to try to force it on us because so many people are going to be making profits from it.
About censorship, I want to ask your perspective on what we're seeing, the censorships, particularly around, vaccine choice, vaccine safety and rights. So are they doing this, taking books, off Amazon and films off Amazon and now social media, and you can't even have your say about simple facts? Are they doing this because they're afraid of something in terms of, I say they, I mean, the corporate complex, the pharmaceutical industry, or are they just doing it because they can?
Well, the pharmaceutical industry does not want to have a debate. I mean, I've been doing this for many years. The last time I was allowed to publish an editorial, and I'm just talking about the mainstream papers like the New York Times, the LA Times, or the Chicago Sun-Times, or the San Francisco Chronicle, or the Boston Globe. None of those have ever let me write an editorial, ever. But for a while, Huffington Post was, and some of the other liberal blogs. But the last time I was allowed to write a editorial in the Huffington Post was in 2009. So that's a decade ago. Even these what's so-called liberal blogs, which are supposed to be an antidote to the corporate control of, American society and democracy, have somehow been persuaded that they need to be part of this juggernaut of censorship. And now you have the social media, Facebook and Google, and they have their own partnerships with the vaccine industry. Google is now a vaccine company. It has a partnership with GSK, with GlaxoSmithKline. I think a $600 million partnership where not only are they making vaccines together, but they are also, GSK has a contract to mine data for Google and to look at your health information and, your heart rate when you're holding your cell phone and what, Alexas or Siri, find out about you as you're living in your home, and to mine that data and then to develop drugs and vaccines, et cetera, and then, directly market them to you. So it's a frightening world we live in, and the pharmaceutical companies control hospitals, they control the medical schools, they control the journals, and now they control the social media. And of course they control the TV. Anybody who looks at an evening news show, I think now, I read the other day that the average evening news has 22 ads on it, and 17 of those are pharmaceutical companies. So now those advertising purchase dollars, $9 billion a year that they're putting into American media, is purchasing content as well. And that's a bad thing for democracy, because democracy depends on an informed public.
Yeah. You mentioned big data. You're talking about all these connections behind the scenes. How do you think children would be impacted, Bobby, by what 5G would bring in terms of constant surveillance and data harvesting?
Well, I have 7 kids, and I'm very frightened to think about the world that they're growing up in, because I think everything that they do they're never going to be out of sight of some kind of surveillance system. It's scary. It's scary. It's scary to think about how you can maintain a democracy under those conditions.
I have so much respect for you, because you have taken the bull by the horn, so to speak, and you're fighting for what's right. And everybody, watching this gets that. We're so grateful for you. What do we need to do to turn this thing around?
Well, I mean, on a large level, I think we need to get money out of politics. We need to revert to the Citizens United case and return to where we were before, and restore the integrity of our democracy. On the smaller scale, everybody needs to become an activist. Everybody needs to become involved. You can't afford to sit at home anymore and pretend this isn't happening, because it's real now, and the bad guys are winning, and we need to take back our democracy. And of course, what I would suggest to people is that they should join Children's Health Defense, follow me on Instagram, and get involved. Thank you.
Thank you. And I second